Ruger Security 9. Now, this is by no means a new gun. A lot of people have done reviews on this gun. I haven't. I've been doing a lot of traveling, so for me, I'm back out in the homeland, as I like to say, as far as the range is concerned, and decided to go ahead and talk about the Security 9. Now, the Security 9 is what I deem it kind of an affordable, on the affordable side of firearm prices. Firearm prices can be all over the place. This is kind of like the Goldilocks side of the house, because it's about the size of a Glock 19. Yes, I hate the fact that I always have to use a Glock 19 as a reference point, but that's what a lot of people know. But it's big enough to be a home defense gun, small enough to be a concealed carry gun, with enough capacity to give you all the warm and fuzzy feels that you might want to get if you're a capacity whore like I am. This gun feels really good. I didn't really expect it to. I have a Ruger LCP. And by the way, I've recently partnered up with Ruger to put together a series about affordable guns. My very first gun that I ever owned was a Ruger SR40. And then my first concealed carry gun was a Ruger SR9C. When I bought those guns, I didn't have the most money in the world, but I wanted to get the best bang for my buck. And from my research and everything I learned, I felt Ruger was that. So, bought 2 Rugers. So I felt more than comfortable partnering up with Ruger to talk about more affordable guns, because I tend to be into all the Gucci stuff. But when I didn't have the money to buy all the Gucci stuff, I bought Rugers because I knew they were good enough. I thought they were really good guns, and there was a beautiful balance between value and what I was getting for the gun and what I was paying for the gun. So for me, it was kind of a no-brainer. This will be one of the guns in that series, but I wanted to come out here and do a first mag on it anyway, because I like to shoot. And so I figured, hell, why not talk about this gun? So, first things first, I noticed is the grip texture. I love this grip texture. It's the same grip texture that's on the Ruger LCP2 that I really, really, really like. And I would do a video on that, but I don't have enough 380 ammo to do it, so bear with me. But as far as the features on this particular gun, you have this granulated texturing in this grip here that works really, 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 really well. Then you have this grip angle. It's more of a 1911 straight up and down grip angle instead of that weird Glock angle where you have to do all this weird adjusting. You get rear and front serrations, which you don't normally get on a gun at this price point. This gun is about $300 in the normal times. And I say normal times because we're not living in normal times right now, and the price of guns right now are just continuously going up. So this gun is about $300, but right now, it's probably somewhere in the $400 range when you do find them. So that means every other gun is going up as well. The one thing I have noticed about this gun is usually when you get a $300-ish gun, you get a gun that pretty much is bare bones. You don't really get a lot with it. And it kind of feels like a $300 gun. This does not feel like an $800 or $900 gun. However, also doesn't feel like a typical $300 gun. So you're sitting right there again in that sweet spot. I'm pretty positive if I was just getting into shooting now, like I did back then, this would probably be a gun that I would have seriously considered getting, just the same way I did with the SR40, because they both kind of do the same thing in terms of being a perfect median with respect to the value you get from the gun versus how much the gun actually costs. Gotcha. Go down. I love shooting. It's so fun. Why aren't That's what I like to see. Let's talk about this trigger. Again, in keeping with the same theme of being having more value than what you're actually paying for, the trigger on this gun is not a $300 trigger. It's closer to, shit, I mean, you got the Glock 5, the Glock Gen 5, Glock 19 Gen 5 is about $600-ish, and I think this trigger is better than the one on the Glock. That's just, the only thing lacking probably is the reset, because the take-up is really smooth and really short. There you go, boom, 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 boom. There's your wall. Your wall's really definitive. It's not squishy, it's clean. And then you break. Now with the reset is kind of far. There we go. So there's your reset. Now keep this in mind. This is not a striker fired gun. This is a hammer fired gun. There is a hammer in here. Look. Which probably explains the ultra long reset. But even though the reset is long, the reset is really smooth. So if you're a stickler about resets on your guns, I don't really shoot to reset. So for me, it's pretty much doesn't really matter. But if you don't really shoot to reset on your gun, if you do shoot to reset on your guns, it's a big deal for you. You're gonna notice it, the fact that it doesn't really reset that short. Now, I think this is a really good truck gun. I feel like the Security 9 is one of those guns where it's good enough to depend on as far as protecting your life in a truck, but because the price point is as low as it is, if you were to say happen to have it stolen, or something happened to happen to it as a result of you using it to defend your life, and you're without it for a period of time, you're not going to cry. As a matter of fact, you probably would treat them the same way I treat my AirPods. You lose it and you'll just go buy another one. Ironically, the AirPods are about the same price as this gun. Should tell you something. So, I'd be lying if I said this was a soft shooting gun. It is not a soft shooting gun, but it also doesn't recoil very hard. Again, keeping in line with the theme of being kind of just right. I think the Glock 19 recoils a little bit softer than this gun, but the Glock 19 also is a heavier, more stout gun. To me, this gun feels a lot slimmer, trimmer, and more lean than the Glock 19, which probably adds to why it doesn't recoil as soft as, say, the 19 does. That being said, you kind of have to pick your poison. It's not noticeably more stout on the recoil side of things, but I changed that. It's not that it's the recoil. It's a little bit more flippier, ever so slightly, and that's what I'm feeling. It tends to want to flip just a little bit, and I think, honestly, it has more to do with the grip angle than anything else. Because the grip angle is more straight up and down, you don't necessarily have the leverage to keep that barrel down like you normally would. Now, if I would just shoot like a man and grip my gun like a man, I wouldn't have that problem. But that being said, we're talking marginal difference between the flippy nature of a 19 versus the flippy nature of this. Now, if I just shoot and use the proper mechanics from a grip standpoint, I don't even notice it. See? Now, let's talk about some of the features. The sights, they're really low. This gun, like I said, is trying to do a lot of things. It's trying to be big. It's trying to be a good home defense gun. It's trying to be a good concealed carry gun. And I think it does a good job of doing all of those things. But in its attempt to be a good concealed carry gun, it tries to make everything very snagless. So a lot of the reason why the gun seems so streamlined is because everything is kind of rounded off. You have this front serration here, you have the rear sight, the front sight, and they're all kind of rounded off into very low. These are like a really low profile sight, and they are kind of Glock-like, which is not a good thing because I hate the Glock stock sights, but we're not gonna talk about that. Also, safety. There is a safety on this gun, and I know a lot of people who are really heavy in the gun scene, like the gun guys, they don't like safeties on their guns, but there are a lot of first-time gun buyers who do. I remember when I was looking for my first gun, one of the reasons I picked the SR40 is because it had a safety. It's a very positive engagement. It's kind of small, it's out of the way. It's not loose, so loose where you accidentally will engage it, but it definitely is usable, right? The problem is if you're gonna use this gun for self-defense, train to the safety, please, because you will forget to take the safety off. It's just a matter of training to make sure that it becomes second nature to sweep down for the safety. I'm not the biggest fan of these sights, I just gotta be honest, and largely because I hate Glock sights, and these are very reminiscent of Glock sights, and they're even lower, so I was kind of struggling initially to get my hits because I didn't account for the fact that the sights are a little bit lower on this gun. Color. It's doo-doo brown. It's not really doo-doo brown, it's like doo-doo tan, right? But I think it's unique, I think it stands out. I'm not the biggest desert tan fan, but I kind of like this one. It's very reminiscent of the 19X, which I tend to really like. If I'm being honest, I wouldn't even call this a cheap gun. I think this gun gives me a lot of, I remember there was another gun, the 6-hour P3, P220, 2022, something like that. I think that gun is one of the most slept on guns in the industry. And I feel like this gun is the same way. I think a lot of people will overlook this gun, not really realizing, and I think a lot of it will have to do with the price point. And it doesn't have the same kind of fanfare as say a Glock does, but being out here and shooting it, and the more I shoot it, I start to realize this gun for the money, and I don't even really honestly need to use that caveat. Let's say I didn't tell you how much the gun cost, and I just gave you the gun. If you factor in the front, the rear serrations, the grip texture, the trigger, the sights are throwaways. I could live without them. You know, your 15-round mags is actually pretty damn good mags. And I didn't tell you the price of the gun, and I said, say, okay, this gun was $400, $450, you'd believe me. And I think that is one of the beauties about guns like these, because I think it's really easy to get caught up in the extremes where it's like, oh, I want something so dirt cheap that it barely works, versus I want the most expensive Gucci gun that I could possibly find. There is a sweet spot where I don't look at this and say, well, I have this gun, so therefore I'm gonna have to upgrade it at some point. You probably will. I did with my SR40, I upgraded to something else, but when I say upgraded, really what I mean, I just did in addition to. I bought something else because I started to refine my taste in firearms. And I started to have more money. But I still have those guns, I still shoot them, and I still enjoy shooting them. So it's more so just me wanting more guns. I didn't feel like I was lacking anything in particular. Let's get you. Come on, drop it, daddy. Drop it, daddy. Ah. Are you kidding me? Am I going blind here? What the hell's going on? You got any more bullets? Let's try this again. My dumb ass wants to act like I don't remember how to shoot. There we go. Okay. Okay, I just had to reaffirm and make sure that I still remember how to shoot, because that first volley was kind of weird. That being said, the Ruger Security 9 is, I think, a really, really, really good middle of the road, affordable, high quality firearm. Is it as Gucci as some guns? Some may argue it actually is. Let's say you change the sights, and I mean, you already got front and rear serrations. You have this beautiful doo-doo desert tan brown. You got a nice trigger. You have a safety on this gun. For those who were looking for safety on the gun. This would definitely be a gun that I would have considered, seriously considered, for my first gun when I was first buying a gun. The same way I did with my Ruger SR40, for the very same reasons. I still think my SR40 looks better. That's just me. But I like it. All right, now we have the performance mask at shop.mrcolionnoir.com. And no, these aren't the masks that suffocate you to death. You can breathe in this mask. It's lightweight material, very high quality. You know how I do. I'm sure the YouTube algorithm is going to do a phenomenal job of suppressing this message. So please share this video with as many people as you can so we can beat the algorithm and get our two-way message out to the masses. Also, don't forget to like this video and leave a comment and hit the bell and subscribe button. If you're looking for where to purchase your Defund Gun Control shirts, hats, and drinkware, there's a link in the description section of this video.